The Stoic Secret. Part 1. The Secret That Changed Everything. There is a secret that has guided great men and women for thousands of years. It is not hidden in a treasure chest. It cannot be bought with money. It does not belong only to kings or philosophers. Anyone can learn it, but very few choose to live by it. This is the story of a young man named Julian. Julian wanted success. He wanted respect. He wanted peace. Yet no matter how hard he worked, something always seemed to pull him backward. One failure destroyed his confidence. One insult ruined his entire day. One setback made him question his future. He believed the world was against him. One evening, after another disappointing day, Julian wandered into an old garden on the edge of the city. The sun was setting. A cool breeze moved gently through the trees. In the center of the garden sat an elderly philosopher on a stone bench. He looked completely at peace. Julian wondered how anyone could remain so calm. He sat beside the old man. For several minutes neither of them spoke. Finally, the philosopher smiled. "You are searching for something." Julian nodded. "I want a better life." The old man asked. "What is stopping you?" Julian answered quickly. "Bad luck. Difficult people. My circumstances." The philosopher slowly shook his head. "No. The greatest obstacle is not outside you. It is inside you." Julian looked confused. The philosopher pointed toward a quiet pond nearby. The water reflected the evening sky perfectly. "What do you see?" "My reflection." The philosopher picked up a pebble and dropped it into the pond. Ripples spread across the water. The reflection disappeared. "When your mind is disturbed by fear, anger, or worry," he said, "you stop seeing reality clearly. The Stoic secret is not controlling the world. It is learning to control yourself." Those words struck Julian like lightning. Before leaving, the philosopher handed him a small notebook. Inside the first page were 5 simple words. Master yourself before everything else. Julian carried those words home. The next morning, he decided his life would change. Not because the world had changed. Because he would. His first test came immediately. His alarm rang before sunrise. His body begged for more sleep. His old habit whispered, "Stay in bed." Julian remembered the notebook. Master yourself before everything else. He got out of bed. It seemed like a small victory. But it was the beginning of a new life. Every morning became another opportunity to practice discipline. Every difficult task became another chance to strengthen his character. Weeks later, Julian faced another test. While working on an important project, a co-worker publicly criticized him. Everyone turned to watch. His face became warm. His heart beat faster. His pride wanted to fight back. Then he remembered the calm pond. He paused. He listened. Instead of reacting, he thanked the co-worker for the feedback and calmly explained his point of view. The meeting ended peacefully. As he walked home that evening, Julian realized something remarkable. He had protected his peace. Not by controlling another person. By controlling himself. Months passed. His habits improved. He exercised regularly. He read books every day. He spent time reflecting each evening. His confidence no longer depended on praise. His happiness no longer depended on perfect circumstances. He had begun building strength from within. One afternoon, he returned to the old garden. The philosopher was watering flowers. Julian smiled. "I've been following your advice. But life is still difficult." The philosopher laughed softly. "Of course it is. The Stoic secret does not remove hardship. It prepares you to face hardship wisely." Then he pointed toward a large oak tree standing beside the garden wall. "The storms have bent its branches many times. But its roots remain deep. Become like the oak. Strong inside. No storm lasts forever." Julian never forgot those words. From that day forward, every challenge became another lesson instead of another excuse. Failure became a teacher. Criticism became an opportunity to grow. Disappointment became training. As the years passed, people noticed a difference. Julian seemed calm under pressure. He made thoughtful decisions. He remained kind even when others were angry. One friend finally asked, "What changed you?" Julian smiled. "I stopped trying to control everything around me. I started controlling the only thing I truly own, my mind." That is the Stoic secret. You cannot stop storms from coming. You cannot stop people from judging you. You cannot prevent every setback. But you can choose your attitude. You can choose your actions. You can choose your response. And those choices shape your destiny. Every day gives you another opportunity. Another chance to master your emotions. Another chance to strengthen your character. Another chance to become wiser than yesterday. Remember this. The strongest prison is an undisciplined mind. The greatest freedom is self-mastery. Master yourself before everything else. Do that consistently. And nothing in the outside world will be powerful enough to steal your peace. That is the Stoic secret. And that is where true greatness begins. This story naturally continues into part 2, where Julian faces betrayal, failure, and personal loss, discovering that the deepest Stoic wisdom is revealed during life's hardest seasons. The Stoic Secret. Part 2, The Fire That Revealed His Character. Several months had passed since Julian first met the old philosopher in the quiet garden. The words written inside the small notebook had become part of his daily life. Master yourself before everything else. Every morning before sunrise, Julian repeated those words. They reminded him that every day would bring another test. Not a test of intelligence. Not a test of strength. A test of character. One cool autumn morning, Julian received wonderful news. After years of hard work, he had been chosen to lead an important project at his company. His family celebrated with him. His friends congratulated him. For a brief moment, everything seemed perfect. But life has a way of testing us when we least expect it. Only 2 weeks later, the project began to fail. Unexpected problems appeared one after another. Important clients withdrew their support. Deadlines were missed. People on Julian's team started blaming each other. The office became filled with frustration. One afternoon, during a meeting, a coworker stood up and said, "This is Julian's fault." The room became silent. Everyone looked at him. Julian felt his heart begin to race. His pride wanted to defend itself. His emotions wanted to argue. Then he remembered the old philosopher's lesson. When your mind becomes disturbed, your judgment disappears. He took one slow breath. Instead of attacking anyone, he calmly asked, "How can we solve this together?" His response surprised everyone. The anger in the room slowly disappeared. People stopped looking for someone to blame. They started looking for solutions. That evening, Julian walked back to the old garden. The philosopher was sitting beneath the oak tree. Without saying a word, Julian sat beside him. After a long silence, the philosopher asked, "What troubles you today?" Julian explained everything. When he finished, he asked, "Why does life become harder just when I think I'm making progress?" The old man smiled. He picked up a small piece of iron lying beside a blacksmith's workshop nearby. "Do you know how a sword is made?" Julian shook his head. "It is placed into fire. It is struck again and again with a hammer. It is heated. It is cooled. Then it is sharpened." The philosopher looked directly into Julian's eyes. If the metal could speak, it would call the process unfair. But without the fire, it would never become a sword. Julian sat quietly. He finally understood. Life was not punishing him. It was shaping him. From that day forward, he stopped asking, "Why is this happening to me?" Instead, he asked, "What kind of person is this challenge helping me become?" That single question changed everything. Weeks passed. The project still faced difficulties. Some employees quit. Others lost hope. Julian refused to surrender. Every morning, he arrived before everyone else. Every evening, he left after everyone else. He encouraged his team. He listened more than he spoke. He remained calm when everyone else became anxious. Slowly, the atmosphere changed. People started believing again. Solutions replaced complaints. Hard work replaced excuses. Months later, the project succeeded. Not because there had been no problems. Because they had refused to let the problems defeat them. The company's director called Julian into his office. "I've seen many talented people," he said. "But talent alone is not enough. You stayed calm when others panicked. You united people instead of dividing them. That is real leadership." Julian thanked him, but deep inside he knew the praise belonged to the lesson he had learned in the garden. Years later, a young employee approached Julian. "I don't know how to handle pressure," the young man admitted. "I always lose control." Julian invited him for a walk. They stopped beside the same oak tree where the philosopher had once spoken to him. Julian pointed to its trunk. "Look closely." The young man noticed deep scars in the bark. "What happened?" he asked. "Storms. Lightning. Time." Julian smiled. "But the tree is still standing. Strength is not the absence of scars. Strength is continuing to stand despite them." The young man nodded slowly. That lesson stayed with him for the rest of his life. As Julian walked home that evening, he realized the Stoic secret was deeper than he had first imagined. It was not simply about remaining calm. It was about allowing every hardship to improve your character instead of hardening your heart. You cannot avoid every storm. You cannot escape every disappointment. You cannot prevent every failure. But you can decide what each experience will make of you. Will it make you bitter? Or wiser? Will it make you fearful? Or stronger? The answer is found in your response. Every difficult day is another opportunity to train your mind. Every painful season is another opportunity to strengthen your character. Every setback is another chance to become the person you were meant to be. That is the Stoic secret. Master yourself before everything else. When you do that, no obstacle can permanently defeat you. Because true strength does not come from controlling life. It comes from controlling yourself. This story naturally continues into part 3, where Julian faces his greatest personal loss, discovers the deepest meaning of Stoic resilience, and learns why a peaceful mind is stronger than any external victory. The Stoic Secret. Part 3. The Man Who Could Not Be Broken. Years had passed since Julian first met the old philosopher in the quiet garden. The notebook the old man had given him had become worn with age. Its pages were faded. Its cover was scratched. But the words inside remained as powerful as the day he first read them. Master yourself before everything else. Julian had learned that this was not a lesson to study once. It was a lesson to live every day. Every sunrise was another opportunity to practice discipline. Every challenge was another opportunity to strengthen his character. One cold morning, a messenger arrived at Julian's home with unexpected news. The elderly philosopher who had changed his life had become seriously ill. Without hesitation, Julian traveled to the old garden. The garden looked the same. The flowers still bloomed. The oak tree still stood proudly. The small pond reflected the morning sky. But the philosopher was weaker than Julian had ever seen him. His hair had turned completely white. His hands trembled slightly. Yet his eyes remained calm. Julian knelt beside him. "You changed my life," he said quietly. The old philosopher smiled. "I only showed you the path. You chose to walk it." They sat together in silence. After a long pause, the philosopher spoke again. "Julian, life has one final lesson for everyone." "What is it?" Julian asked. The old man looked toward the still water. "Everything outside you will eventually change. Youth, wealth, success, health, even the people you love. But one thing can remain steady: your character." Julian listened carefully. "If you protect your character, no loss can truly destroy you." Those were the last words Julian heard from his teacher. A few days later, the philosopher passed away peacefully. Julian felt deep sorrow. For several weeks, the garden felt empty. The bench where they had shared so many conversations now stood silent. One afternoon, Julian opened the old notebook once again. Between 2 pages he discovered a folded letter he had never seen before. It read, "If you are reading this, it means I am gone. Do not mourn for too long. Instead, continue living the lessons. Remember, people admire success. Wise people admire character. Spend your life becoming a person of character." Julian closed the letter slowly. He realized his teacher had given him one final responsibility. The wisdom could not end with him. It had to be passed to others. Months later, a severe flood struck the nearby villages. Homes were destroyed. Families lost everything. Fear spread quickly. Many people waited for someone else to take action. Julian remembered the philosopher's words. A stoic does not complain about darkness. He lights a lamp. The very next morning, Julian gathered volunteers. Some collected food. Others built temporary shelters. Doctors offered free medical care. Carpenters repaired damaged homes. Day after day, Julian worked beside them. He carried supplies. He encouraged tired workers. He comforted grieving families. One evening, a young volunteer asked, "How do you stay hopeful after seeing so much suffering?" Julian smiled gently. "Hope is not something we wait to feel. It is something we choose to create." Those words inspired everyone around him. Months later, the villages slowly recovered. People thanked Julian for leading them through the difficult season. He always gave the same answer. "I simply remembered what my teacher taught me." Years passed. Julian's reputation spread far beyond his town. People traveled long distances to seek his advice. Among them was a young woman named Sophia. She had lost confidence after failing several times to achieve her dream. "I think failure means I'm not good enough," she admitted. Julian invited her to the old oak tree. He pointed toward its thick trunk. "Do you see the marks on this tree?" Sophia nodded. "Those scars came from storms. They are proof that the tree survived." He looked at her kindly. "Your failures are not proof that you are weak. They are proof that you had the courage to try." Sophia remained silent. Tears filled her eyes. Julian continued, "The only real failure is allowing hardship to stop you from growing." Those words became the beginning of her transformation. Years later, Sophia returned. She had achieved the dream she once believed impossible. She thanked Julian. He smiled. "Now teach someone else." As Julian grew older, he often returned to the quiet garden alone. He would sit on the same stone bench where everything had begun. The sound of the breeze through the trees reminded him that life never remains the same. Yet he felt peaceful. One evening, as the sun slowly disappeared beyond the hills, Julian reflected on his journey. He remembered the frightened young man who blamed the world for every problem. That man no longer existed. In his place stood someone who understood the greatest Stoic secret. The world cannot always be controlled. But your thoughts can be trained. Your actions can be disciplined. Your character can become stronger every day. He smiled as he whispered the words that had shaped his entire life. Master yourself before everything else. If you can master your emotions, criticism loses its power. If you can master your fears, uncertainty no longer controls you. If you can master your desires, comfort can no longer distract you from your purpose. That is true freedom. That is true strength. So when life becomes difficult, stand firm like the oak tree. Remain calm like the still pond. Face every challenge with courage. Choose wisdom over anger. Choose patience over panic. Choose discipline over comfort. Because the greatest victory is never over another person. It is over the weaker version of yourself. Master that battle, and nothing in this world can truly break you. That is the Stoic secret. And it is a secret worth living every single day.